The Fed lies about inflation and will continue until it is so blatantly obvious that they cannot avoid the truth. Only then will they begrudgingly start to raise, but I expect them to be well behind the curve at that point. The Fed is sadistically and systematically destroying the middle and lower classes, rendering them into more riches for the wealthy. Every single move from the Fed is to juice asset prices. As if the disturbing bifurcation in wealth between the haves and have-nots is not enough, they promise more of it. They are going to ignore asset price inflation. And if there's even a hint of a price pullback, they will come with their printing press blazing. Never mind the fact that regular people can no longer afford a roof over their heads. No, that subject is verboten among central bankers. The greatest challenge facing mankind is the challenge of distinguishing reality from fantasy, truth from propaganda. All currencies are preparing for the new money. Cryptos are being allowed to grow for a reason. The Fed just revealed its plans for a digital dollar replacement. Because they're developing something called Fedcoin, which would be based on blockchain technology. The idea that you can go into a store and anonymously purchase something with cash might soon be obsolete. Originally, the Fedcoin idea appeared to be a security enhancement to a century-old system used for clearing checks and cash transactions called Fedwire. According to Nasdaq in 2017, this technology will bring Fedwire into the 21st century. Tentatively called Fedcoin, this Federal Reserve cryptocurrency could replace the dollar as we know it. Global digital totalitarianism is the only thing on the menu as the bankers switch from fake hyper-printed banknotes to imaginary digital ether currencies. To make this all work, you are going to need a digital ID. They plan to give everyone a digital identity by 2030. It is happening. The fiat Ponzi was unraveling months before the flu was turned into a Hollywood production. What will remain is a destroyed economy and permanent new controls and tracking of your movements and communications. Most will have to rely on the government for food, shelter, and medicine and will happily snitch on anyone remaining independent of the Bolshevik 2.0 regime. As they prepare to pull the plug on this manufactured crisis, that will have the masses begging for their replacement. That is when they will roll out a global blockchain form of electronic currency to be phased in as all global fiat is phased out. But by the middle of the next decade, we will all be required to be biometrically identified to access the internet to buy and sell. This has all been planned to unfold within the next decade to hit their target by 2030. The power that be are ending cash and moving everyone towards decentralized IDs and central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, which is, of course, entirely imaginary money that they no longer have to print or require bank buildings for. Universal Basic Income, UBI, after they force crushing poverty, will be offered, but it will require biometric ID implants. They will soon force decentralized biometric identity known as self-sovereign identity. You won't be able to buy, sell, or trade without it. Indeed, you will be entirely cut off and be labeled an outlaw if you refuse it. When we switch to a cashless and digital totalitarian police state, with live 5G video and tracking everywhere in everyone's life, many things will change. I call it global e-slavery or e-prison. You'll begin to understand digital totalitarianism more when all government corporate communications, services, and products are online only, because it will become very expensive for us, all while eliminating millions of jobs for them. A Federal Reserve-created digital coin could be one of the most dangerous steps ever taken by a government agency. It would put in the hands of the government the potential to create a digital currency with the ability to track all transactions in an economy, and prohibit transactions for any reason. In terms of future individual freedom, this would be a nightmare. This stuff gives them a boner. Instant taxation on all transactions as well as the marketing data collected and just generally being nosy. All your transactions will be trackable. This tyranny serves one purpose and one purpose only, absolute and unavoidable taxation. Federal Reserve notes currently say, legal tender for all debts, both public and private. Soon, there will be no private debts. No more betting at the poker table with the guys. Any winnings will be taxable. No more birthday money for the kiddies from their grandma. All presents shall be taxed. No more, Mom, can I borrow a 20? Without a federal transaction tax taken out each and every time money gets handed around. No more garage sales. No more anything. Digital currencies are the forerunner to a cashless society. Once we are in a cashless society, you are a prisoner of the banks and any fees they wish to charge. Once we are in a cashless society, you cannot buy anything anonymously. There is a record of every transaction you ever make. Once we are in a cashless society, the government can economically disappear you if they do not like what you say or do. Think that cannot happen? Well, it did to the drone pilot whistleblowers whose accounts and credit cards were frozen by the government. At least they could still operate using cash, but what would you do if there was no cash and your electronic digital accounts and credit cards were frozen? The mark has finally arrived. Digital dollar, digital wallet, digital identification. The money markets are up to $1.1 trillion. Doesn't this prove the market is a fraud? Money cannot be pouring into literally everything all at once. Gold is up. Market is up. Bitcoin is up. Money markets are up. Literally, nothing is down. How is that possible? It's possible because the Fed issued a statement endorsing unlimited leverage, which means financial institutions now have a license to print to infinity. This was most likely a signal to the ESF that they no longer have any restraint and can simply conjure up funds to intervene in any market. This is why I believe other large financial institutions that are controlled by the so-called globalists are using this to flood the US money markets. Their goal is to crash the US dollar, and they switched strategy from previously attempting to drain liquidity to now instead make it flow over into the real economy. The entire system is rigged against you. They will be throwing tens of trillions at this, easily, and not just in the US alone. The Federal Reserve will be pumping out even more digital funny Uncle Sam monopoly dollars via IMF. How this isn't being seen in inflation numbers is way beyond my mental skills. It is out of control. Almost 7 trillion since September. 1.5 quadrillion, maybe even more of outstanding OTC derivatives. Let's see them print their way out of that one by the time Libra ends. Compared to the Great Recession, it seems the crowd set on crashing the US economy has switched strategy 180 degrees. Instead of trying to create a cardiac arrest of the US money markets, it is now set on overwhelming it so that hyperinflation sets in. Their goal is to usher in global currency and have large international bodies call the shots. What is their endgame for the US dollar once it's crashed? Currency resets usually have a devaluation and exchange old for new at certain ratios. I could see them resetting the US dollar and euro simultaneously once the US dollar-euro has parity. The whole purpose for low to zero interest rates is to ensnare as many people and countries ensnared in so much debt that gives the banking system leverage while at the same time destroying the value of the masses' fiat purchasing power. The whole range of tools comes down to one tool: flood the country with printing press fiat currency. As long as we are the reserve currency, this will carry us for a while, but once we lose reserve currency status, we will end up as a third world country. Here comes Venezuela. In the past few weeks, I thought maybe I was overly pessimistic. People really seem to believe things will go back to normal, but that doesn't seem like a possibility anymore. Malls will close. Restaurants will go out of business. National chains are using the crisis as an excuse to quietly file bankruptcy. Maybe it will take a while to adjust people's expectations. Notice how mainstream media is constantly parroting the new normal. This thing is a slow-motion train wreck. The train may only be moving at 5 miles per hour, but the weight and inertia behind it ensure it will not stop until massive damage is done. Government attempts at mitigating this thing have ensured the destruction in the months ahead. 70% of all jobs in the US are small businesses, and the $600 a week unemployment bonus has ensured a huge portion of the employees of those small businesses will not return to their jobs when those businesses reopen. This will bankrupt a lot of small businesses that would have otherwise survived. So now you have businesses already bankrupted by the pandemic, and you will add the ones bankrupted by government unemployment. When the government stops the $600 bonus, and people do need to return to work, the jobs will no longer be there. You gotta be crazy to invest in the market right now. Twinkies are a better investment. Twinkies will last longer than the dollar. The game has just begun. Think 1929 to 1933. Bots and algos buying? There is no market. It's all smoke and mirrors. There will be no economic rebound. There are no buyers for real stuff anymore. Nobody wants to buy a plane, a car, a house. Nothing, because the assets are still there, nothing is destroyed yet. The only thing that would help the world economy now is WW3. That would be 1939. So it'll take 6 to 9 years of misery from now to escalate. Wait and see. It will happen. And nothing can stop it. The virus is only an accelerator. It was meant to happen anyway. If I go shopping today and buy a jug of Jim Beam bourbon, a carton of Winston's, a tube of Preparation H, this month's Big Uns magazine, and a box of 30 to 30 cartridges, I could pay cash or use my Visa card. If I use cash, there's no transaction fee and no record of my purchases. If I use my Visa card, the Visa Corporation gets a nice transaction fee. They also get a record of my purchases linked to my social security number, which I had to provide them to obtain the card. That purchase information is of extreme interest to insurance companies, marketing companies, and the National Security Administration. My purchase history is probably worth as much or more to Visa Corporation than the transaction fee. If you buy booze, smokes, smut, ammo, gold, or anything else that's nobody's damn business, use cash. At this point, it's pretty much a certainty we will never again earn anything off a savings account. Coming to a galaxy near you. The following are excerpts from Implanted Power and Money. The new currency was a result of a worldwide depression and the collapse of currencies from overprinting of fiat money, including the reserve currency, the US dollar. Governments had been bailing out themselves and large banks due to the misuse of capital for the past 100 years. The latest collapse allowed the various countries' central banks to merge with their respective governments and thus profit from the taxes collected. The use of paper money, bartering, bitcoins, gold, silver, platinum, etc., as currency or for the exchange was outlawed. Every transaction was tracked by the banker government, BKGT, oligarchies. The central bank was now the overseer of all grants. Thus, the BKGT automatically received a majority position in any business loan and grant successes.